with the Trey Ogden submission prop being canceled due to the fight not taking place, we go 1-1 on the 3 best prop bets last week, which I guess should be the 2 best prop bets. We go 1-1. Like I said, the first one, Daniel Da Silva to win in round 1, was also close to cashing. Unfortunately, the referee didn't believe that Vergara was hurt enough for us to have that fight stopped. And obviously we know what happens with Daniel Da Silva. If he doesn't win in that first round, more than likely he's going to get finished in the second, and that's exactly what ended up happening. But I was so close to cashing that plus 500, I believe it was, but it just wasn't meant to be. But thankfully, Holly Holm ends up coming through for us in the via decision prop that I had on her, which seemed to cash without any issue at all, which is why it was one of my 3 best prop bets. Obviously, I got another 3 prop bets for you guys this weekend for UFC 287. A quick plug, PFL Week 2 goes down later this evening, and if you want access to those breakdowns, you can find it on my Patreon, link in the description below. I got my Lock of the Night and Dog of the Night predictions ready to go, and I feel damn good about them. I'm sure they'll end up coming through. Fingers crossed. Let's see how it ends up going. So let's get right into the 3 best prop bets. The first of which, I'm going to cheat a little bit because it's actually going to be 2 prop bets, but I'm going to count it as 1. It's going to be a round 2 and round 3 prop for Chase Sherman. You get plus 1,800 on round 2, plus 2,500, but I got plus 3,000 a couple days ago on round 3. Now, Chase Sherman is not a popular pick amongst most people this week, but I think that given the short notice nature of Carl Williams and some of the slip-ups that I saw from him in that first UFC fight against Lucas Brzeski, a fight that I was very confident in him in that matchup, I feel as though Chase Sherman, the veteran, should be able to take advantage of some of those slip-ups and possibly start to rally back in the second and third rounds here. Not known as a potent finisher, but a guy that can definitely dig deep and put those big punches and power on you late in this matchup. Carl Williams, not this crazy decorated wrestler by any means, but has managed to make it work out for him in the wrestling or in his professional MMA career thus far. But now that he's going to be fighting, again, Chase Sherman is not a world beater by any means, but as Williams starts fighting more quality opponents, I think he's going to find it harder and harder to implement that grapple heavy style, especially with how much it seems to tax him later on in fights. And if he's not able to just sludge you over with his frame and his physique, he's going to struggle to get guys to the ground, and his striking game still needs a little bit of work, which is something that I think that Chase Sherman will be able to take advantage of. It's going to be a tough first round with Carl Williams getting a lot of good dominant positions and a lot of control time, but I think as this fight starts to play on, the guy that was preparing for this date a little bit longer is probably going to have more gas in the tank in the second and third rounds, and more than likely be able to get that finish as well. So plus 1,800 and plus 2,500 on those spots, worth a sprinkle in my opinion. Second up, we're going to go with Gerald Meerschaert, one of my favorite underdogs on the card. I'm going to take him to win inside the distance at plus 300. I like the chalk on the fight doesn't go to decision a little bit more, but people don't really like paying minus 300 on certain spots. But this is one of those fights where I expect an early finish from Joe Pyfer or a round 2 or round 3 finish from Gerald Meerschaert, who is the veteran in this spot. He has close to 40 more fights than Joe Pyfer. He has seen way more wars and way more battles than Joe Pyfer has ever seen. And if Pyfer can't get him out early, he's going to be in for a world of hurting, as I believe that Gerald Meerschaert will be able to put the pressure on him. I think we'll see Pyfer start to slow down, and I think we'll see eventually him breaking, which will allow Gerald Meerschaert to snatch his 10th submission victory in the UFC, tie Nate Diaz for number 5 all-time in submission, and continue to rise above the ranks and distance himself from the number 2 middleweight in terms of most submissions in UFC middleweight history at 10. The third and final prop that I got for you guys here is going to be Raul Rosas Jr. and Christian Rodriguez to go to decision, which currently sits at plus 110. Now, as Rosas continues to take steps up in competition, it's going to get harder and harder for him to secure that submission, just as we saw when he went up against Mando Gutierrez on the Contender Series. Now, Jay Piranha, that's a totally different spot here, as I don't think that Perron is a high-level fighter, but I think that Christian Rodriguez is one of those dark horse prospects that not a lot of people are paying attention to because he doesn't have that hype on his name. But his submission defense and grappling defense has looked top-notch throughout his entire career, just as it did in his short notice bout against JSP in his UFC debut. He dealt with a much bigger grappler in that matchup. Again, he took that fight on short notice up a weight class, and he showcased solid submission defense, good grappling defense. And even though he was getting taken down over and over again, he did a great job in terms of staying calm, staying poised and disciplined, which allowed him to eventually work back to his feet and get back to his handiwork, which is where he'd have the advantage in that fight, just as he'll have the advantage in this fight. So I do think that this fight is going to play out mainly in the grappling for the first half of it or so. But I think as this fight starts to go deeper, we'll see Christian Rodriguez start to land his damage a little bit more. He might get a finish, but I think that this will eventually creep to the judges' scorecards. And there is an opportunity for Rodriguez to get his hand raised after being the more effective fighter in terms of landing damage compared to the control time that Raul Rosas Jr. will be getting in this matchup. But no matter what, I still expect this fight to trickle into the scorecards. Possible late finish from Rodriguez, but I think more so that this goes into the scorecards, and I think that Rodriguez likely gets his hand raised. But whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I still think even if Rosas wins this fight, it's going to go to the scorecards. So plus 110 for that prop. There you guys go, the 3 best prop bets for UFC 287. Let's see if we can go at least 2-1, or even maybe hit one of those Chase Sherman props, and that would wipe out any type of loss that we would end up taking on the other 2 props. But I always intend on going at least 2-1 on these 3 best props, because more often than not, they are plus money, and that will end up meaning profit for you guys regardless. Appreciate you guys checking out the episode as always, and I'll see you guys again Monday for the MMA Lockcast to break down Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen, UFC Kansas City. See you guys then. Peace.